Welcome to the Red Pill Podcast, powered by AIgencyX.net. Explore AI-driven creativity, groundbreaking innovations, and industry insights, all in one game-changing podcast. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really plunging headfirst into something pretty exciting, but also, let's be honest, kind of perplexing. Generative AI image tools, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DLE, these things that have just sparked this incredible creative revolution. Anyone can basically conjure up amazing visuals, seemingly out of thin air, just from typing a few words.
It's a really transformed thing.
It really has. But underneath all that cool innovation, there's this, well, it's like a tangled mess, a real legal quagmire. Especially when you ask, who actually owns the pixels these tools create?
That's the big question.
So our mission today is to try and untangle some of that yarn. We want to unpack maybe the most fundamental misunderstanding around copyright for these AI-generated images. We're drawing some crucial insights from Copycats' Treasure and Copyright Tangle of Yarn by resurrects. So get ready, you might need to challenge some of your own assumptions about who owns the images you're creating or even just seeing online. Okay, so let's unpack this then. What's like the single biggest misconception people have when they start making images with AI?
Well, I think the core one, the one we see all the time, is this belief that just because you typed the prompt, you came up with the idea like cyberpunk cat wearing a neon fedora, that you somehow automatically become the copyright owner of the picture that pops out.
Right. Seems intuitive. My idea, my image.
It does seem intuitive, but under the current legal interpretations, especially in the US and the EU as well, that's largely incorrect. Copyright law, fundamentally, it protects original works of authorship created by human beings. And the absolute key phrase there is human authorship.
Human authorship. Okay.
Yeah, so your prompt, it's generally seen more like an instruction or maybe just the basic idea. It's not usually considered the kind of fixed, expressive authorship that copyright law demands.
So I don't own it just by prompting. Then who is in charge? Or maybe, let's start with who doesn't own these pixels.
Okay, good way to frame it. So first off, the person typing the prompt generally does not automatically get copyright in that raw, untouched AI output. The U.S. Copyright Office, the USCO, they've been really consistent about this. They keep saying works that lack, sufficient human creative control and input, they just aren't protected by copyright.
Not enough human involvement, basically.
Exactly. And second, maybe this is more obvious, the AI model itself doesn't own it.
Right, it's software, not a person.
Precisely. AI isn't a legal person, it can't hold copyright.
Right.
What it produces is essentially a statistical prediction based on all the data it was trained on. It's not, an original expression from some sentient author.
Okay, that makes sense. But now here's where I think it gets really interesting. What about the companies? Midjourney, OpenAI, Stability AI, the ones who actually make these tools? Surely they have some claim.
That's a great question. And this is where you absolutely have to look at their terms of service, their 2S, because that document dictates what rights they grant you, the user. But here's the crucial point, and it trips people up. Permission does not equal copyright.
Ah, okay. Say more about that.
So most platforms, they'll grant you a pretty broad license. Often that includes commercial use, which is important.
I can sell the image.
You likely have permission from them to use it commercially, yes, but that license is absolutely not the same thing as them assigning copyright ownership to you.
So they're just letting me use it, not giving me the underlying ownership right.
Exactly. And here's another layer. Even if some companies explicitly say they don't claim copyright on the images users generate, Midjourney does this, OpenAI does for DALL-E on certain plans, that still doesn't automatically mean the copyright suddenly belongs to you, the user.
Wait, so if they don't claim it, and I don't automatically get it, then what?
Well, what often happens is the image effectively enters this kind of copyright limbo. It's potentially just unprotected.
Copyright limbo. Wow. That's a fascinating and honestly kind of unsettling idea. So an image could just exist and maybe nobody truly holds the copyright, making it sort of free for anyone to use without legal trouble. That seems like a huge void.
It does create a significant void, or at least a massive area of uncertainty.
And I'm guessing this void, this uncertainty, is exactly where we start seeing these massive lawsuits pop up.
Yeah.
Especially involving the original artists whose work might have been used.
Absolutely. That's the heart of so many legal battles right now. It often comes down to how these AI models are trained. They learn by processing these enormous data sets, right? Often containing millions, even billions of copyrighted images scraped from the web, frequently without specific permission from the creators.
Right, the training data issue.
Exactly. And that's central to cases like, say, Getty Images versus Stability AI. The AI companies tend to argue fair use. They say they're transforming the data, not just copying it, creating something new.
But the artists don't see it that way.
No, artists and rights holders often argue very strongly that it's basically mass copyright infringement on an unprecedented scale. And here's the critical implication for you as a user. If the courts eventually rule that the training process itself was infringing, well then the legality of every single output derived from that model becomes questionable.
Wow. So everything made with that tool could potentially be tainted.
Potentially, yes. It could seriously impact downstream users, people like you creating images with these tools, even if you had no part in the training.
Okay, so putting all this together, what's the practical advice? If someone wants to sell their AI art, should they just go for it, or is it like walking through a minefield?
I definitely lean towards proceed with extreme caution. It's not quite a minefield where every step explodes, but the ground is definitely unstable. There's just so much legal uncertainty right now because these fundamental questions, how much human authorship is needed? Was the training data legal? They're all being actively fought out in court right now.
So the rules could change tomorrow.
Exactly. What seems okay today might be ruled infringing next month or next year. And another really important point, that commercial use license you get from the AI platform, it protects you from the platform suing you for using the image commercially.
Okay, that's something.
It is, but it does not protect you from infringement claims by third parties. So if your AI image happens to look really close to someone else's existing copyrighted photo or artwork,
They could still come after me.
they absolutely could. And the license also doesn't protect you from the fact that the image might simply not be copyrightable in the first place due to lack of human authorship.
Meaning I can't stop someone else from copying my AI image.
Precisely. If there's no valid copyright, you don't have those exclusive rights to enforce. Anyone could potentially copy or sell it.
Okay, this is a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Given all these risks and complexities, is there anything creators can do? Is there like a best shield available right now? Something to offer a bit more peace of mind?
Yes, there is something. If you're looking for the best available shield against some of this risk, especially the copyright infringement risk, you should look for platforms that offer indemnification.
Indemnification. Okay, what's that?
It means the platform essentially promises to back you up. Some platforms, notably Adobe Firefly, which makes a point of saying it's trained on licensed or Adobe-owned data, and also Shutterstock's AI tool, they offer this. Basically, they promise to cover your legal costs, like lawyer fees and settlements, if you get sued for copyright infringement specifically because you used an image generated by their tool, assuming you followed their rules, their terms of service.
Ah, so they're essentially ensuring the output of their own tool to some extent.
That's a good way to think about it. It significantly reduces your financial risk if a copyright claim arises directly from using their service properly.
That sounds valuable. Is it absolute protection?
It's valuable, but not absolute. It usually only covers copyright infringement claims arising from the output itself. It typically wouldn't cover other legal issues like, say, trademark infringement if the image accidentally includes a logo, or violating someone's publicity rights if it looks too much like a specific famous person. But for the core copyright risk from the AI generation, it's the best protection currently offered by some platforms.
Got it. So going back to the human authorship idea, is my brilliant prompt idea enough? My cyberpunk cat wearing a neon fedora,
Yeah.
is that enough human input to get me copyright?
The prompt itself. No, unfortunately, ideas themselves are never copyrightable. Copyright protects the expression of an idea, not the idea itself.
Okay, so the phrase isn't enough.
Right, your cyberpunk cat concept is great, it's creative. But the AI is what takes that idea and generates the actual visual expression based on your instruction, yes, but also heavily based on its training data and its internal algorithms. The really critical question for copyrightability is, was there enough human creative control and contribution in the final fixed expression, meaning the actual image file, to qualify?
How do they judge enough?
Well, according to the USCO guidance, if you're just typing a simple prompt, say, cat in a hat, digital art, and you take the first image the AI spits out without changing anything, that's highly unlikely to involve enough human authorship to get copyright protection.
So just prompting and accepting isn't enough.
Generally, no. However, if you take that AI output, let's say the cat picture, and you bring it into Photoshop or Procreate or some other tool, and you make substantial creative edits. Maybe you composite it with other images, you redraw certain elements, you paint over parts, add unique textures. Then the modified work, the final image with your changes, that likely does have copyright protection.
But only for my changes.
The copyright would apply specifically to your human-authored modifications and the overall creative arrangement you made. It wouldn't necessarily grant you copyright over the underlying AI-generated parts themselves if they weren't sufficiently altered.
Okay, so significant editing helps.
Mhm.
What about just really complex prompting? Like lots of iterations, tweaking the prompt over and over.
That's definitely the grayest area right now. This raises that really important question. How much human input through prompting and selection is enough? The USCO has actually granted registration for some AI-assisted works. But the key was that the human applicant demonstrated they creatively selected, arranged, and modified AI-generated elements to such a degree that the final work represented the human's original mental conception.
So a lot of curation and maybe minor tweaks.
More than just tweaking, likely significant selection and arrangement. Their drawing line. They consistently reject registrations where they feel the AI is the one that fundamentally determines the expressive elements of the work. It's a very fine line, and honestly, it's still being defined.
Wow, okay. So it sounds like the more you treat the AI output as just a starting point or a component, and the more you actively shape the final image, the better your chances of having some copyright protection in your contributions.
That's a very good summary of the current guidance, yes.
All right, left try and distill all of this. This has been incredibly insightful. What are the absolute key takeaways, the practical recommendations for our listener trying to navigate this tricky space?
Okay, let's boil it down. First, and maybe most importantly, abandon the assumption that you automatically own the copyright just because you prompted. Assume the raw AI output is likely not protected by copyright that you own. What you probably do have is a license from the platform to use it, maybe even commercially, according to their terms of service. But that's permission, not ownership, not exclusive rights.
Got it. Assume license, not ownership. What else?
Second, read those terms of service. Seriously. Understand the scope of the license they're giving you, and definitely check if they offer any kind of indemnification. That's crucial for risk assessment.
Right. Check the fine print, especially for indemnification.
Third, if you're planning commercial use, try to mitigate your risk. How? Well, prioritize using platforms that do offer indemnification, like Adobe Firefly or Shutterstock AI. That's a big safety net.
Okay, use the safer platforms if possible.
Also, add significant human authorship. Don't just use the raw output. Modify it substantially using traditional tools like Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever you use, and maybe even document your creative process. Show your work, basically.
Smart. Prove your human input.
Exactly. And be careful with your prompts. Avoid prompts specifically designed to mimic a particular living artist's style very closely, or prompts trying to generate known copyrighted characters or logos. That's just asking for trouble.
Yeah, don't poke the bear.
Pretty much. And related to that, be transparent. Disclose your use of AI to clients or on marketplaces where you might sell the work. Honesty helps manage expectations.
Transparency is good. Okay.
And finally, remember that point about ideas versus expression. Your brilliant prompt idea gives you zero copyright. The legal focus is all on how much expressive control you, the human, exerted over the final visual output.
Oh, and one last crucial thing. Stay informed. This whole area is moving incredibly fast. Court decisions are coming down. New laws might be written. What we're saying today is based on the current situation, but it will evolve.
Absolutely. Constant vigilance required. It's clear this field is just incredibly complex, and it's changing at lightning speed.
It really is. Look, we're definitely navigating a legal minefield here, as you said, but there are paths through it, the core thing to grasp. Your prompt alone probably isn't enough for copyright. Real safety, real creative protection in this new landscape. It seems to hinge on understanding licenses, choosing platforms wisely, especially those offering indemnification, and most importantly, injecting your own substantial human creativity into the final product. Until the courts and maybe legislatures give us much clearer, more definitive rules, I think informed caution, transparency, and focusing on that human element are your strongest defenses. That's great advice. And Webstrix, our source for today's deep dive, left us with some really powerful thoughts on this. One quote was, "Art begins where the ugly copy ends, when fragments, stolen and scarred, are sutured by vision into something that never existed before."
That's evocative.
Yeah, and another line that really struck me, "True art doesn't hide the ugly copy. It resurrects it. It speaks to that transformation idea. So perhaps the final thought for you, our listener, to ponder today is this. We're in an age where machines can generate images that not long ago absolutely required human hands and eyes. So how do you now define authorship? And maybe more excitingly, what new kinds of art, what new forms of creativity will emerge from this really fascinating tension between the machine's ability to copy and our human drive for true original creation?
That's a wrap for this episode of the Red Pill Podcast. If you enjoyed diving deep into the future of AI and media, make sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay tuned. Bigger insights, bolder ideas, and game-changing discussions are coming your way. Sponsored by AIgencyX.net.